Hey guys, welcome back to the Cuse Quarter alongside Tommy Farrell and Jonathan Singh. This is our last episode of the Cuse Quarter. We got next week, but thanks for following us and watching every week. We really appreciate it.
It was yesterday we were on the couch for the first episode, and I know you were on the last episode with Julian because me and John were out. But fast season, John, right?
Very fast, a lot of fun.
Orange is the new fast, if you didn't know, John.
Yes.
Not right now, but anyway, no, we've had a lot of fun here throughout all the games of the season, and we're happy to continue.
We'll get sentimental at the end of the episode.
We'll get sentimental there. But first, let's look back at Wake Forest and Syracuse. Syracuse started off strong there, and then allowed Wake Forest to score 64 points. How does that happen?
Well, 107 points total in the game. Early on for Syracuse, it was all orange. First half was great, and second half, Wake Forest made their adjustments, and they scored 40 points to our lone 5 points in the second half, beating the Orange 64-43. And obviously, Eric Dungy was out with a lower body injury. We score over 40 points. I mean, you should come a little close to winning the bowl game there, especially with what's on the line right now with bowl game eligibility. But that was a tough loss for the Orange at home on Veterans Day, Military Appreciation Day. It was tough.
And two things. One, Zaire Franklin, the captain and the leader of the Syracuse defense, he even said that for Zach Mahoney to be playing, I mean, he played against Florida State a little bit when Dungy got banged up, and then he also played the whole game against Wake Forest. Zaire Franklin, the middle linebacker, captain of the Syracuse defense, said, we're not putting Zach in positions to be successful on offense because they're always trailing from behind. Now, the game I saw against Wake Forest was a completely different Syracuse football team in that Syracuse is usually the ones doing awesome in the second half. They're always the ones coming from behind, right? Against Wake Forest, talk about orange is the new fast. They played a phenomenal football game in the first half. Yeah. And then what happens in the second half? They score 5 points in the second half, and then Wake Forest was the one to put their foot on the pedal all the second half. That's completely different of what Syracuse has been doing all season, where they're usually rallying late and it's too short, and they come up just short. They lose by 3 or they lose by a touchdown. And now they got blown out in the second half. Usually they're a better team in the second half.
It was reverse. Yeah, like you just said, Syracuse usually does not come out as hot as they did in the first half, and then the second half, absolutely nothing. I mean, Zach Mahoney played against Florida State. Dungy got hurt the first drive of the game. Mahoney stepped
up.
He did step up, and I think he played well against Wake Forest. There were some mistakes late in the second quarter that kind of put the game out of hand for the Orange. But you got to move forward now.
Yes, I know. They're on offense in the second half. Not sure what happened there, regardless of the fact that Dungy wasn't there. They just weren't connecting.
Well, Zaire Franklin took that initiative and said, we're not putting Zach Mahoney in situations to win the game. Where, you know what? I think they are, because when you score 43 points, you should be winning a football game. And then when you're a defense and letting up over 60 points, that's concerning to me as a defense that's been playing well against good ACC competitive football teams all year, and then you're going to say, well, we're not putting him in positions to win. Well, they are, because they're scoring 43 points a game, and they're not winning because the defense is letting up over 60.
Well, something to note here for Wake Forest, their second half adjustments were great. Yeah. Our secondary cannot keep up with the Wake Forest receivers, and towards the end of the game, the running game for Wake Forest was unbelievable. They could not be stopped.
Let's move on to Louisville and Virginia. 38-21, Louisville on top. They're bowl eligible now. What should we expect from them? Or what did you see? What did you see from their game against Virginia?
Well, Lamar Jackson, 4 touchdowns, 195 passing yards, and 3 of those 4 touchdowns were passing. The one was on the ground. Now, Lamar Jackson, not a lot of people know this because Louisville's not getting a lot of attention because they're 6-4. Then they're not the team they were last year. But I think personally, Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than he was last year. And because he already won the Heisman and he's not the sex factor that he was last year, he's not getting that much attention. But his stats are still through the roof. And this is going to be the best quarterback that Syracuse has seen all season.
Absolutely. It's one of the Heisman hopefuls right now in the nation. And right now, Lamar Jackson has better stats through 10 games than what he had all of last year. He's going to be tough to stop, obviously, on the ground and in the air. He has almost 4,000 passing yards thus far this year. Can Syracuse contain him outside the pocket? That's going to be a big question. for the Syracuse coaching staff and defense. It is a one tough team overall, despite Lamar Jackson. So it should be a contest. Syracuse, they have to win out, or their hopes for a bowl game are gone.
I think you're right. A lot of the attention is off of him right now because Louisville didn't start off as strong as they did last year. But how does Syracuse contain him on defense?
That's the question. I mean, it's very hard to contain, a very mobile quarterback because the moves he makes. I mean, you can't teach that athleticism. That is God-given, and I know he knows that. But I mean, you can have a spy player. You can have all DNs not crash inside and just play outside the C and D gaps. But if you want to contain him, you got to lock down the wide receivers and hope that your linebackers are disciplined enough to rally up and make a tackle, because no one's going to tackle Lamar Jackson one-on-one in open field. You're going to have to rally to the ball. You're going to have to 2, 3, 4 players swarm to the football and tackle Lamar Jackson. But regardless, if he gets past the line of scrimmage, we all know that Lamar Jackson is a nightmare.
I mean, Louisville has tons to work with. Obviously, Lamar Jackson on the ground, also in the air. But when Lamar Jackson's out of the pocket and running, Syracuse is going to do what they can to stop him. But when he's not, he can use his arm to score points, and he's shown it this season. So it's going to be a challenge for Syracuse, and we're looking forward to what the Orange defense can do on Saturday.
And if Syracuse does contain Lamar Jackson, he still has Jalen Smith and Reggie Bonifant on the outside to throw to, right? Jalen Smith, his most targeted wide receiver this year, having a heck of a year. Reggie Bonifant, how about he was on the team in 2014 as a quarterback? Lamar Jackson came in, kind of won that competition single-handedly. Reggie Bonifant moves from quarterback to wide receiver, and now he's a 6'3" mismatch for a lot of nickel defenders, a lot of linebackers and D-backs, because yes, he's 6'3", he has over a 40 vertical, and he can run. And you know what? He's also a trick play option. So if Syracuse is winning, and this is Louisville's last home game of the year, watch for Reggie Bonifant to maybe be there in some sort of trick play, whether it's a double pass or because he has the arm to do it, and he's so athletic enough. Lamar Jackson is not the only athletic one on the field.
Yeah.
When you got Day Williams and Jalen Smith and then Reggie Bonifant. I mean, this is a very athletic offense that has not been getting a lot of credit this year, especially in the ACC.
Let's move over the other direction. Louisville has struggled this year against a fast-paced offense, and we know that's something that Syracuse has. Regardless if it's Dundee, regardless if it's Mahoney, how do they use that to their advantage?
Syracuse, they need to be doing every game this year has been a close game. It's been a heads or tails game, a couple points here and there, and Syracuse, they're in a different story right now. But that's not the case. Syracuse has to stick to their game, just keep doing what they've been doing all year. If they come out like the way they played against Clemson, things shouldn't be an issue. But you can't compare game to game. Games are win and loss on the field. Yep. So a big first half start for Syracuse is going to be huge. I mean, I don't think they're going to come out the way they did against Wake Forest, but it's got to be a 4-quarter game on both sides of the football in order for Syracuse to potentially pull this one out.
Well, also, I'm thinking Syracuse, because they're so fast and they are efficient on offense, a lot of opportunities in the red zone, right? A lot of opportunities inside the 20-yard line. Well, then why are you 50% in scoring touchdowns once you get to the end zone? Don't settle for a field goal. We talked about, I think it was the Florida State game where Coach Babers decided to go for it instead of kicking the field goal and taking the points after that botched punt return from Florida State. And I know me and you were talking at the game. We were, why don't you take the points? Why don't you kick the field goal? Well, because you're not going to beat teams like Louisville and Florida State and Clemson by kicking field goals. And Coach Babers said that. Well, yes, true, but when you're 50% in the red zone and you're not 50% by your 50% of the time you're in the red zone, you're scoring touchdowns.
Right.
That's not good. When you get in the red zone, especially if you have first down from the 20-yard line, you want to be scoring 7 points. And also, when Louisville's defense is allowing at least 10 plays of 10 yards or more in the air, and we have and Syracuse has the wide receivers they do with Ish and Irv. And with Dungey regarding his health status, we don't know. But even Mahoney has an arm. He can sling it. Take advantage of Louisville's inexperienced and immature defense and attack their secondary. They're letting up more than 10 plays, averaging above 10 yards a game. That's a huge stat that Syracuse has to attack. They're going to be vulnerable. Louisville's going to be vulnerable. Whether it's their last home game or not, it's man on man, big on big. And it's going to be a good football game if Syracuse does the right things and it plays efficient football.
I mean, especially utilize the guys outside. We saw it last week. Mahoney, 384 yards in the air. Ish had a game, 145 yards receiving. If we can utilize the receivers outside, we can cause some trouble for the Cardinals. It should be interesting. Mo Neal on the ground, get the run game going. Yeah. It makes for a better pass game and just a better style of offense. Now, if Mahoney plays or Dungy plays, either of them, I still think our offense is still very quick. Mahoney took control of the offense last week. Fast-paced offense.
Showed leadership. Showed like he's been there before.
Exactly. And Mahoney, he has experience. He's not a starter, but he's got experience, and he's a leader. He's a leader on the team, and he's going to have to lead the Orange in Kentucky to pull this one out.
And I'd be blessed if I was in that Syracuse football locker room as part of the team. If I was part of that team, I'd be honored to be a Division I football player. But nonetheless, right now, if I'm Syracuse, as much as it's important to Orange Nation and everyone here in Syracuse, I'm not worried about being bowl eligible right now. How about winning your first game on the road and showing that you can play against a tough, one of the best or one of the hardest schedules in college football, and actually winning on the road, where you play close games at LSU and at Miami and NC State and Florida State, and now you got Louisville, which yes, they're getting looked over a little bit, but they're still a freaking good football team, and you can't find a way to win on the road. I mean, yeah, you're going to win at home because you have one of the biggest home field advantages, dome field advantages in college football. How about showing that you can face adversity, and they're going to be down at times, showing that you can answer the bell when the bell is rung and respond and win a football game on the road. How about don't even worry about bowl eligibility. Worry about what you can control on Saturday afternoon.
On the road at LSU, they fought back. Yeah. On the road at NC State, big second half, fell short. Yep. On the road at Florida State, almost pulled that one out, fell short. It's gonna be a 4-quarter football game.
They're going to definitely have to take risks and have a lot of luck on their side to get this game. A perfect game they pretty much have to play to pull this one off. But right now, Louisville is predicted plus 13 to win this game. What are your predictions?
My prediction, I'm going to go 38-25 Louisville over Syracuse.
I know I said a couple episodes that Syracuse was going to win out. I was feeling a little gutsy, just like you were feeling a little gutsy when you called the upset against Clemson, and I give you credit for that, and I'll always give you credit for that. But I'm taking that back because of what I saw against Wake Forest last week. Louisville's going to win 41-28. The offense is going to be way too fast for Syracuse's defense to handle, and I think I don't think Syracuse is going to be able to. I think they're in a very deep hole right now, and I don't think they're going to be able to climb out of it. And as an Orange student, you know that concerns you a little bit. But they're young. They'll be back next year. But Louisville on top, 41-28.
Yes, this is definitely going to be a fast-paced offense we're going to see from Louisville, especially with Lamar Jackson. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game on their end. 49 points for Louisville, 35 for Syracuse. I think they're going to be able to connect regardless of who ends up being the quarterback for this game. But I think that, like you said, they are in a hole. It's going to be tough for them to get out, especially on the road to Louisville. They haven't won on the road all season. So I'm going to have to give this one to Louisville, saying that.
Well, that seems that it's the last
Yes,
ride.
seems like it is the last.
For the Cuse quarter.
Yes.
For me, real quick, I just want to say thank you to all of our viewers, our family and friends, our colleagues that watched. It's been one heck of a ride. We'll never forget when Syracuse beat Clemson. Just one of the few memories. We wish Julian the best of luck. He's been going through a lot the last couple weeks, and he's actually on assignment right now for class, so we can't blame him for that. I know he wishes he could be here, and he thanks all of you guys for watching. I mean, we couldn't ask enough from Julian, from his expertise playing at the Syracuse, playing for Syracuse football, and also bringing the NFL experience. But we thank all of the viewers for watching us, and wherever our future endeavors may take us, whether we're on the same team or not in the future, still follow us. We're going to stay in touch with our followers on Twitter. And if Syracuse does make a bowl game, which if they win the next two, they can be, and hopefully will be bowl eligible, we will throw you guys our Twitter names, and we'll do some quick Twitter videos for that bowl eligible hit. So again, thank you for watching the Cuse quarter. I mean, it's been one heck of a ride, guys. I couldn't ask for better colleagues to sit alongside.
We got to do a quick shout out to our fill-in analyst, India Timpton, filling in for a couple shows. She has been
here a lot.
India bringing some good insight to the show. And
how about Peyton?
And Peyton, yes.
You'll see Peyton.
Last
she's behind the camera.
Our producer, she has been here.
We would not be here if it wasn't for Peyton.
Yes.
So thank you, Peyton.
I know. Thanks, guys, for watching. We really appreciate you following us this season.